It's going to be called Bible Robot, so I have the title. I do not have the story yet, and we'll go ahead and begin creating that now. So let's see what happens. I wrote down some names to use for this story, and now I realize that I'm speaking them out loud. I should have picked some easier names, but I went with some unusual spellings for a purpose, so we'll see how it plays out. All right. He did not want to be a part of this. Any of it. He had hoped that this would happen after his lifetime. It hadn't been a duty any bishop had to undertake for thousands of years, but things had deteriorated fast over the last few months and accelerated in the previous weeks and days. Even if he wanted to ignore it, he could hear the screams from the surrounding city before the doors to the great cathedral closed with vault-like finality. Alright, I don't know how much I misspelled, it only found one of them. Alright, vault-like finality. Bishop Arnold Willig paced through the cavernous passages toward the Holy Hall. No worshippers were allowed in the building or its many sanctuaries today. There was too much important business to be resolved for anything like that. Willig was not the last bishop to arrive and take his seat, but the final stragglers came in right behind him. Bishop Saris Fay stood. Not every man went silent, but they quieted down enough. Everyone was supposed to speak the common tongue in this chamber for this proceeding, but Willig could make out more than one dead language among the whispers. Faye spoke over it all, despite his age and the gravel in his voice. To order, and let's begin again. As I hope many of you are, am only interested in solutions. The people of the faith and all souls upon this world and all others depend on us to Bishop. Ooh, my computer's trying to take off. Bishop Harmon Raggio did not allow the elder bishop to finish. We are not here to impose our will over sacred things. If that's what you mean by solutions. The floor rumbled as if in response to old Reggio. Willig couldn't decide if that meant approval or retort. It probably meant they were all in danger. Faye started to respond as if it were an honest question. I do not mean enough of all of this. Reggio cut him off again. Even having this gathering to discuss what we are discussing is sacrilege. The whispers rose first from the rumble, and then from Reggio's melodrama. Willig took in air to mount a defense before Reggio could derail everything again. But it was Bishop Ashime Telax who called out from near one of the curved walls. It is our duty to meet, as many have done before us, and there is no sacrilege. Eventually I'll spell that right since I'm using it in the story. There is no sacrilege as long as we do no sacrilegious things. Reggio turned to try to face the speaker, but could not get a bead on him before another bishop spoke up from across the room. Shekdai Heng. Put bishop in front of his name. Bishop Hekjai De Heng said, "This has been decided a dozen times over the history of the church during the age of robots. It was never decided by men." Reggio whirled and spoke without identifying his opponent first. He had no intention of letting them fill the silence again. God decides when there will be rust and slipping of gears. We have never decided to force such a thing on our own. These are unusual times bishop. Fay said they are not Reggio. Let me put a period there because I'm going to have him do an action. Reggio pointed in the elder bishop's face. There are no unusual times. All times serve his will, and we are not excused from it for claiming unusual times. Torek Fathy. Let's make this bishop. I'm going to get the conversation down to 2 men here soon. Make it a real confrontation, but one more character here. Bishop Torek Fathy to Willig's left said the city is being destroyed around us. We must act. The dome above us shook enough to sprinkle dust all around. The whispers sounded like the sea. Reggio raised his arms above his head and turned in a circle. I'll not have the Bible robot profaned in this hall. I'll have the names of every bishop, with lowercase that, of every bishop who dared suggest we shut down the one holy robot before God's timing. Fay said these proceedings, I cannot spell proceedings. Alright, these proceedings are secret. You mustn't. If you are ashamed of what you say, you shouldn't say it. Reggio declared. Alright. Well, hi, I literally just reading your article about creative writing on Twitch and then wandered to the category in your life. Oh, thanks, man. Faux Riot. Um, yeah, I do writings for Lit Reactor, so it was really cool to kind of get on board with that. I've been experimenting with Twitch, just very briefly. I mean, I'm as new as you can be, um, but just kind of doing my thing. It's actually helped me get some more short stories written, which has kind of helped me hone my skills a little bit. So that's cool. Thanks for dropping in, and I appreciate you reading the article. If you are ashamed of what you say, okay, I should fix this. You are ashamed of what you say, you shouldn't say it, Reggio declared. Arnold Willig spoke up finally. Oh, I don't need to put his name there because I'm going to put it in the words. I'm Bishop Arnold Willig. Hold on, I need to keep what's going on outside of this room in the story. Okay. All right. That silenced the whispers finally and made the room feel colder. It was quiet enough to hear distant explosions. It was quiet enough to hear distant explosions and the wails of sirens. Alright, here we go. I'm Bishop Arnold Willig, and you can share my name with whoever you like, but I will not be silenced or avoid the truth because you fear it. Harmon. Reggio took a step toward Arnold, and his hands almost formed into claws. Something crashed out in the hallway. Stand where you are, Willig said. You are no higher than any of us, so we will talk this out without threats. Reggio folded his arms behind his back. Very well, dear Bishop. Tell us all what you would do. Here was the trap, but Arnold realized he'd stuck his head in the loop quite willingly. The destruction must stop. All the holy files are stored in the one robot, and they are full of stories where God destroyed many things for his own reasons. Arnold. All right. That is a dang good title. My expectations for the story at titles are too high. I can't possibly read anything. Yeah, that's kind of the challenge for myself. I write down just random titles and get them from people, and then try to see if I can make a worthy story for it. The one I really had trouble with last week was Spoons, and it turned out to be a much better story than I expected it to be. I've been avoiding this one for a while, but I'm trying to pull it together. I kind of wish I'd put windows into this hall so we could see what was going on outside, and I may do that in the editing, but I'm not gonna redesign the building yet. So we'll see if I can pull out a decent story here. The other Bible robots in the past did not malfunction in this way. They simply stopped and were downloaded. You speak blasphemy, Arnold. I speak truth. He is software and hardware, same as his replacement would be. Do you need transmutation explained to you? Bread, wine, and circuits. There we go. All right. It reminds me of 9 billion names of God and makes me think of AI just doing numerology and other magical thinking style methods of analyzing the Bible. Yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I'm kind of making this into almost a discussion about who's going to be the next pope, but I haven't gotten into what's apparently going on around, so I need to add that in as we go here. I understand how it works, Harmon. I also know that if there is mold on the bread, we do not serve it, and we transmute another loaf. So casual with the most holy of things. Glass shattered somewhere outside the hall, and the other bishops shifted in their seats. You are too casual in making your points, Arnold. I'm surprised, even for you. Nothing you say surprises me, except that I would expect even you to recognize the root causes of the destruction. All things are in God's hands. Are they not? Are you throwing that out as well? This is in our hands. The Bible, all the documents stored in his the Bible, all the documents stored within the holy robot are important. Even the non-sacred is historic and valuable. If we know it is malfunctioning, even if we didn't care about all the lives lost, we should care about downloading before corruption. Alright. Also, the problem of consciousness, one of the stronger evidence-based arguments for spirituality over materialism. What makes a constructed yet spiritual being an interesting concept. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's tricky talking about faith in an interesting way in a fiction story. I may be my reach may be exceeding my grasp a little bit here, so I'm gonna have to see what I need to do with this, especially with kind of where I think this is going. But we'll see. We'll see if I can stick the landing here coming up. Even if we don't care about all the lives lost, we should care about downloading before corruption. A way will be provided in his time, not ours. The fact we are meeting now, after all these thousands of years since the last download, would indicate the time is upon us. We are called to act and we sin by omission if we fail to do so. There are many ways to sin, but only one right choice. So let's make it true path. One true path. One true path. So we should not act quickly. Let's make that hastily. I think you are trying to push us not to act at all. Arnold Willig said. Let's remind us that he's a bishop. And let's even get close to spelling his name right. Arnold. So we'll make him bishop. Alright. So something needs to happen now. We need some action. So it may be time to happen. Okay. Someone needs to keep us grounded. Arnold. Bishop Reggio looked upon Faye again. In these unusual times, especially. Arnold Willig had not thought of what to say next, but that was when the dome cracked open to blue sky and bright sun. Cold wind swept through the hall from above. Cold wind swept through the hall from above as large chunks of marble with all the heft of asteroids fell on the bishops across the way, cutting the gathering almost in half in an instant. The hall screamed. The hall screamed with terrified old men and the swirling winds as the massive robot's eyes glowed unevenly. We'll make it just uneven. I don't need to make it an adverb just for adverb's sake. Glowed uneven from above. Willig had not even considered running like the others had begun to do as the great robot reached down with its metal claw of a hand. The moment it closed its fist around Bishop Fay instead of Harmon Reggio was the moment. Use moment twice. The moment it closed its fist around Bishop Fay instead of Harmon Reggio was the moment. I'll leave it and fix it during editing. Was the moment Arnold Willig truly began to doubt God. Bones cracked as the elder bishop lifted above them as if ascending into heaven. As if ascending into heaven on a metal chariot. The Bible robot unhinged its jaw with a metal on metal screech. Why had they given it a jaw? Why was it pretending to eat its victims now? Arnold vaguely thought of Job questioning God about the Leviathan. At that time, the monster was likely imaginary, but men of faith had built this metal thing on purpose and with a jaw for just this very moment. Doors slammed against the walls behind Arnold as the last surviving bishops fled, leaving only Willig and Reggio still on the floor. In the end, it had been their debate all along. The red eyes flickered. They brightened and then flickered again. Blood fell thick but unimpressive in scale from the Bible robot's fist. Arnold could not track it to where it landed. Faye was no longer moving. When would this ever be over? Time had seemed to stop as the robot's eyes dimmed. Arnold realized that the fist had drawn no closer to the open jaw. Then the eyes went out. Praise God. Harmon Reggio whispered in a dead language. Arnold still knew. The entire mass shifted off balance forward and to the left. The entire western side of the building shredded away before them, and the debris tumbled out through the deserted streets. The new opening. I need to make this a new sentence, new paragraph rather. The new opening revealed fires and black smoke rising all across the city and beyond. The crash seemed like it would never end, but finally it did, and the two survivors remained untouched. the Bible robot's fist folded open to reveal Bishop Ceres Faye's twisted body. The final sacrifice. We must begin the download. Reggio said. Prayers have been answered, and the time has finally come when Arnold Willig did not move. Reggio huffed at him and walked around the bishop to go gather what was needed to, what's the word? To christen. I'm not sure if that's right, but I'll do it. To christen the next Bible robot to protect all the downloaded knowledge of the faith for another era. Arnold felt he should go tend to Bishop Faye, but he was not the only death, and the volume of it all, let's say magnitude, of it all weighed upon him until he sat down in his chair and stayed there. He took in the moment between eras when there was no such creature as this. All right.